Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, September 12th. A strong cool front is approaching the East Coast. It already is generating some showers and thunderstorms. There's a line right now of showers and thunderstorms in south central Pennsylvania. Should move through the Harrisburg area, for example, over the next hour or so, perhaps into the southeastern part of Pennsylvania by the latter part of the morning. More widespread showers and thunderstorms in the eastern Great Lakes region associated with the surface cold front will move into the Mid-Atlantic I-95 corridor later on this afternoon into the early part of the evening. Any storm that forms today ahead of the frontal system can become quite strong with some gusty winds, frequent lightning, and some brief heavy downpours. All of this should sweep off the East Coast by tomorrow, paving the way for much cooler air on Friday and Saturday. In fact, most locations in the Mid-Atlantic region will go from high temperatures in the low 90s on Wednesday to low temperatures early Saturday morning in the upper 40s in, again, many Mid-Atlantic locations. Before we focus in on the severe thunderstorm possibility in the Mid-Atlantic region, let's first talk about the Atlantic tropical scene. It is quite active as we move into the second half of the, at least the climatological second half of the Atlantic Basin tropical season. There are many areas of interest right now. Hurricane Humberto still spinning out here with 85-mile-per-hour winds. Again, much closer to Africa than it is the U.S. It looks like it'll kind of meander to the north for a while and then curve to the west, but then finally, ultimately, curve back to the north towards the North Atlantic. Probably will never affect the U.S. mainland. Again, it is a Category 1 hurricane right now, the only hurricane on the scene right now, and the first hurricane, the only hurricane we've had so far in the 2013 Atlantic season. Gabrielle has weakened overnight to a tropical depression. It does look fairly impressive this morning. It very well could regain tropical storm status. It will head northward towards Nova Scotia, reaching the Atlantic Canadian Maritime provinces this weekend. Does not seem likely that it will ever affect the northeastern U.S. coast because of the strong cool front. That'll keep it out to sea, headed towards Nova Scotia by the weekend. Another area of interest right here, we'll see in the satellite imagery in a moment, there's a pretty impressive little spin in the atmosphere right here east of the Windward Islands. That too could become a named system over the next couple of days. Finally, another area of showers and thunderstorms across the Yucatan Peninsula region of Mexico. This should spill out over the Gulf of Mexico today, perhaps becoming strong enough to be called Tropical Storm Ingrid on its way towards northeastern Mexico. Heavy rain from that system from South Texas across the eastern part of Mexico over the next few days. So quite an active Atlantic tropical scene at the moment. Well, there's such an abundance of activity in the tropics right now. We have to take a look at two separate viewpoints of the Atlantic with the latest GOES visible imagery. This is from the Penn State EWOL site. This particular view of the central and western Atlantic shows three different areas of interest we were just pointing out. This is Tropical Depression Gabrielle. Very well could become renamed as a tropical storm as it strengthens a little bit today on its way to the north towards places like Nova Scotia by the weekend. Here's a large area of disturbed weather in the western Caribbean in the Yucatan Peninsula region of Mexico. That could turn into a tropical storm. If so, it would be named Ingrid on its way towards northeastern Mexico. And yet, finally, here's another area in the eastern edge of this particular view. This has a spin right now. It has to be monitored for potential strengthening into a possible named tropical system over the next couple of days. So three areas of interest in the central and western part of the Atlantic. Now let's take a look at the eastern part of the Atlantic, which is where Hurricane Humberto currently exists. And here it is, the most well-defined of all the systems right now. It is a hurricane with sustained winds at 85 miles per hour. This is the west coast of Africa, so this is still way out there in the eastern Atlantic. Cape Verde Islands right here, just to the west of the western coast of Africa. Again, this should meander to the north for a while, then kind of cut to the west, and then finally make a turn to the North Atlantic, probably never having an effect on the U.S. East Coast. It is a hurricane right now, the first hurricane of the season with 85-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Well, let's get back to the continental U.S. and that strong cool frontal system that will approach the Mid-Atlantic region today and cause a big change in the temperature pattern by tomorrow here in the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, More numerous showers and thunderstorms right now across the eastern Great Lakes. That's closer to where the surface cold front currently exists, but well out ahead of it. You can see right here the development of a line of showers and thunderstorms cutting across northeastern Pennsylvania all the way down into south central Pennsylvania. That should move through places like Harrisburg and Lancaster over the next hour or two, perhaps affecting the southeastern part of Pennsylvania by the latter part of the morning. That could move on through, and then we have a little break in the action, and then more widespread, more numerous showers and thunderstorms anytime from mid-afternoon through the early part of the evening. And again, any storm that forms today can be on the strong side with some gusty winds and brief heavy rainfall. Well, here's the current surface map all the way across the nation. Series of cool fronts. All of this will consolidate into one strong cool frontal system by early tomorrow, situated along the East Coast and then moving all the way off the East Coast, allowing for a big change in the temperature pattern and humidity pattern between today and tomorrow. Much cooler tomorrow, a strong northwest wind with much lower humidity values. Cannot rule out a shower on Friday, but for the most part it'll be a mix of clouds and sun. Much more refreshingly cool conditions, and by tomorrow night temperatures could very well drop into the 40s by early Saturday morning in many I-95 mid-Atlantic locations. Strong high pressure will follow this cool frontal system and to control the weather all weekend long here in the northeastern part of the country. Still lots of moisture out here in the southern Rockies. Some flash flooding is possible with some heavy rainfall later on today into the evening hours. Denver staying on the cool side with a high of 70, and those numerous showers and thunderstorms again with some heavy rainfall out there. Still cool along the west coast here with high temperatures only around 70 degrees along the Southern California coastal region. It'll turn warmer there over the next couple of days. Well, let's wrap up with some computer forecast maps. This is from last night's Zero-Z GFS Global Forecast System computer model run at Zero-Z. This is the evening forecast, tonight's Thursday evening forecast. Strong cool frontal system right along the East Coast. Numerous showers and thunderstorms up and down the East Coast. The heaviest rainfall probably from the Mason-Dixon line points north and east all the way up through northern New England. D.C. will get hit as well, but not perhaps quite as heavy as Philly and New York with some of the potential for the heavy rainfall. Again, any storm that forms can be on the strong side with some gusty winds and brief heavy downpours. Here is a strong Canadian high-pressure system on its heels, ready to pounce in to the northeastern part of the country for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. By tomorrow morning, that cool frontal system moves off the East Coast. Widespread area of northerly flow between this departing low pressure and frontal system and coming in Canadian high pressure system. You'll notice a noticeable north to northwest breeze along the I-95 corridor tomorrow. That'll usher in the cooler and drier conditions, much more pleasant conditions by tomorrow, and it'll really be noticeable tomorrow night into the early part of Saturday, again with temperatures dropping down into the 40s in many mid-Atlantic locations. By tomorrow night, that Canadian high-pressure system will be centered over the western Great Lakes. Winds will die down some tomorrow night. That'll allow for quite a rapid drop-off in temperatures, again dropping down into the 40s by Saturday morning in many mid-Atlantic locations. And finally, here's the forecast map for Saturday morning. Saturday will be a unseasonably cool day. High temperatures will struggle to reach 70 degrees between D.C. and New York City, way below normal for this time of the year. That high will just control the weather all weekend long. Really cool conditions on Saturday, and still very pleasant on Sunday and Monday as well. High temperatures mostly in the 70s in mid-Atlantic locations on Sunday and Monday, still comfortable. And yet another cool front on its heels for the early part of next week will reinforce this nice weather pattern for the early and middle part of next week. Looks like 70s beginning tomorrow could last here along the I-95 corridor for several days to come. So potential strong thunderstorm activity later on today, and we'll focus in on that. Stay tuned to the SIweather.com for possible updates later on today. For the SI Weather, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.